bedroom.
ILM did 3/4, and Digital Domain did the last quarter.
For us in the visual effects world, having giant robots to animate had a lot of really great potential, something to really look forward to. Once we were awarded the job, we start developing what the robots really will look like. What are all the pieces going to look like? And we start having modelers here at our place start modeling those things, because it takes a good 4, 5, 6 months to build one robot.
Michael wanted a level of realism that required us to go much, much, much further with the complexity of the robots.
For instance, I've got a little transformer that's on my desk. He has 51 pieces in him. Our Optimus in the movie has 10,108 parts that all have to be handmade. It's in the computer, but it gives you some idea of the level of complexity.
The Decepticons and Autobots together were about 60,000 pieces that all had to move.
If a frame has 3 robots in it, it takes 38 hours to render 1 frame of film.
Michael was very insistent about the robots being energetic and being able to do all these acrobatic stunts.
We wanted to have fighters and guys that could maneuver in ways that you'd never seen before.
We went into this development phase of showing how agile we could make the robots and still convey a sense of weight. And we found that the closer things got to camera, the faster they could move. But when you see the entire robot at a further distance, we had to really slow things down to help sell their weight.
I used real stunt fighters. We do fight choreography. With Kenny's guys that were great fighters, and different type of ninja type moves.
What we did was create a fighting style that represented the characters of each robot.
Believe it or not, it's very hard to animate any type of emotion from a robot if you don't have things that move.
Michael stressed to us how important it was to get the performance to read in the eyes. The majority of the performance is sold in the eyes.
The more we added, it just made it more real and felt like there's a soul in there.
My name is Optimus Prime. We are autonomous robotic organisms from the planet Cybertron.
Friends of mine that are not in this business are always kind of nonplussed when I tell them that we have to, in a computer, completely recreate every single situation that we're shooting in. What that means is our match mover, he's got to be able to come back here and completely reconstruct that in the computer, because the computer doesn't know where anything is. So when you see these guys stand on things and sit on things and bang against things, even the buildings that are, 10 stories tall, all have to be mapped and measured on set.
There's a lot involved in making these vehicles and robots look real. We would go out and take pictures of the tire tread. The treads on our Optimus are the same as the treads on the real truck, and the detail down to the smallest bolt or the engine block, all that stuff. We were very meticulous. You want to see a car driving down the road and see it transform and watch it and say, well, those are real car parts. And to me, that's always the most fun and most challenging thing is, can we make this stuff look real?
We did huge packages of texture reference and abrasion reference for even the robots internally, because we didn't want them to be so squeaky clean that they were uninteresting.
So on his hand, the surface was perfectly smooth, and then we add in these scratches and nicks and dings. The hardest part about this film is we don't have real robots, we have real cars, and the real cars, they're buffing.
You look at a real car that's just been washed and polished and shined up, and it almost looks like a CG car.
So the hard part was trying to find a balance of dirt and aging to add to the robots that didn't make it look implausible that they could have come from this very clean car.
So all the car paints have multiple layers. They have a colorful layer, which is right here. You see yellow reflections in here, but there's also a clear coat on top of it, which is supposed to protect it, but it also gives you a really white reflection. So you always see a colorful reflection next to a white reflection.
Probably 2 years ago, we couldn't do this movie because of lighting and ray tracing, which is a way you light things.
We spend a lot of time getting the lighting right. It's very complicated to get all the specularity.
And so we're always trying to add that in, and we're trying to give that sort of look to our robots. And
adding glints and what he calls pings, you know, where you highlight certain areas.
These tiny little lights that are being reflected in the surfaces is what he's after. That was so interesting for us that I think most of us lighting people became road hazards because we're driving around looking at other cars.
The robots are shiny. They have glass, they have metal, they have painted surfaces. The entire environment has to reflect. So every single shot has an environment recorded for it that gets now projected onto the robot. Otherwise, it will look phony baloney.
We apply everything that we've gathered from set, which is really high-resolution environments, and everything is being reflected in the car panels. And obviously, these robots are moving around a lot, so we're getting a lot of reflective play on the surfaces. And there are major light sources in here, from the headlights, there's the overhead balloon, there are the eyeballs in there, which have to be glowy, the blinking lights. We have the blinker right here, and then the face and his mouth talking is being reflected in the hood of the car. And that is what really sells it at the end. That's sort of the icing on the cake for us.
When you finally achieve a look where it really looks real, that's it. That's the biggest excitement of the day.
There are definitely days when we go in and we review the shots and one comes up and you just say, whoa, you know, that's incredible. Like, it looks like a real transformer.
That takes a high degree of artistry and technical support to make these things look that way.